Hey, so you're thinking about moving to Jupiter and the surrounding area, but man, you haven't bought a home for a while, or this is your first time, or maybe you're coming from out of the area and you want to know what the process looks like down here? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So buying a new home is something that is super exciting and can be very, very stressful if you don't know what's getting ready to happen. So in this video today, we're going to talk a little bit about what the process looks like down here in the South Florida area and give you some tips and tricks so that you get through the process smoothly. My name's Andy Johnson with the Andy Johnson Group over at eXp Realty. And listen, if this is your first time joining us, or maybe it's your second and third, but you've never hit subscribe or rang the bell, today is the day to do it. Do it now. But let's get going. Let's hop into what's really important, some things we're going to cover today. We're going to talk about how you are going to finance your deal, when you need to talk to a lender, when you need to talk to a real estate agent, if you're going to use one, when you should start looking for a home, and a little bit about what our contract looks like as a whole too. And I want to give you some tips on how you can potentially get a better deal or better purchase price when you're going to look. So, the number one item is deciding how you are going to purchase the property, meaning what type of funding are you going to use? Are you going to use cash? Are you going to use cryptocurrency? Or, hey, are you going to get a mortgage? Getting a mortgage or finding a realtor, for different people can be used interchangeably. Getting a mortgage down here is very important to get with a lender that knows what's going on. Listen, everybody wants the cheapest rate. I get that. And with a great lender, you're going to get a great rate, but that's not the only thing that matters down here. Even though now we're in a buyer's market, and this video is shot in June of 2025, it's still very, very important to make the terms of your offer as attractive as possible to get the seller to the lowest possible price that you can. And one of the ways that we do that on our contract is called the loan approval deadline. Now listen, if you're a cash buyer, you may want to skip ahead to the next part, but if you're using a mortgage, basically in a nutshell, what the loan approval deadline does is it turns you into a cash buyer faster, right? So let's think about that. What would a seller prefer? Somebody that they have to wait longer until they're a cash buyer, or a cash buyer right away? Well, of course they want a cash buyer right away, but the next best thing is someone that is not a cash buyer, but can be for all practical purposes after 7 days. And having a lender that can do a shorter loan approval, which in this case, I know people that can do it in short of 7 days, is very important. So if you're looking for a lender, please let me know. Now, that being said, then we move to a real estate agent. And I can't tell you how important I think a real estate agent is down in South Florida. Other areas of the country, I can't speak to it, but I got to tell you folks, if you don't know, I'm not from here, I'm from the Midwest. And one of the biggest things down here is how many associations and gated communities we have that you can't even drive in. We don't have signs in the yards or anything like that anymore. And I know that you can hop online and look on Zillow, but you can't just drive through a gate. You have to schedule an appointment. And here's the next thing. A lot of people go on Zillow, Realtor, or whatever and think that they're going to click, I want to schedule an appointment. They're going to get hooked up with the listing agent. And that's not even what ends up happening. They just get some random agent that's paying for a lead. So it's really not doing them any favors. So finding a great agent in South Florida is very, very important, because you need to be able to get access to these properties when you want and how you want. And also, if you're coming from out of the area or a first-time buyer or are not super familiar with Florida in general, having a location expert is key. Look, a beautiful house is great, but if you hate the neighborhood it's located in, it's gonna be a rough life, folks. And if you don't know anything about the neighborhood or the area, that's where you're gonna lean on your local expert, your real estate agent. Another great reason to have a realtor in South Florida is we have so many different options. We have condos, townhouses, we've got single family homes, there's even some co-ops here. And understanding, that may not sound like that much now that I say it, but understanding the differences of why you may want to live in those different style of properties, a villa, there's another one, is very, very important. What benefits they have, what drawbacks they have, what certain buildings have, amenities-wise that others don't. And again, a realtor is really going to be able to help you do that. The reason that I interchange realtor and lender is because most agents out there, like us, have great lending partners that we can hook you up with that have great rates and can get you those short-term loan approvals so that you can get a lower offer accepted when you find that perfect home. And really, that's what an agent is for. An agent is there to help you identify the perfect home and then negotiate the best possible deal that they can. It's the last thing I'll add of why it's so important to get a great agent. Folks, if you don't know, it's not that hard to become a real estate agent. You can do it pretty quickly. And honestly, the schooling is great, but it really doesn't teach you anything about what's actually going on in our market trends, how people negotiate, where you can get sellers down to, and how to shape the contract in a way that's going to make it the most attractive for the seller while getting you the best deal possible. All right, that's right. So bottom line, folks, is you do not want to go house hunting without a guide. So here we are, we're set up. You've decided you're using cash, you're using crypto, you're getting a mortgage, I don't know what, but you know how you're going to fund the deal. Now you've decided you're going to use a great agent to help you find your home. It's time to start looking for a property. And when we do that, so many people, of course, are going to start online, right? They're going to use whatever site they use, Zillow, realtor.com, the AndyJohnsonGroup.com, to find out what's going on and what's available in the market. And then you physically get out there and start going. But you need to understand what you're looking for before you go. I don't know if it's been a while or if you're new. Listen, when you start going the first, second time, it's pretty fun to look at properties. If you're out there 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, it's not fun anymore, folks. Then it's just drudgery. It's just hard. It's a grind, and houses start to blend together. So really understanding what you want and taking notes and having a checklist about what components you're trying to hit to make the perfect property for you is extremely important and will help you identify the home that you're looking for faster. Also, if I could give you a tidbit, just my personal opinion, don't look at more than 6 homes in a day, and really I do 4. If you start looking at 7, 8, 9, 10 homes at one time, they will blur together and you will not remember any of them. Now listen, if you're here for a short trip, you got 2 days, you got to cram in 20 properties, you've got to do what you've got to do. But if time is on your side, try and spread that out a little bit so that you can really kind of think about what you saw, think about what makes sense, and then move on and figure out what the next property you should see is, assuming that you're not ready to make an offer right then. All right, so there we go. You've decided on the house. Well, really, I mean, we've got financing, we've looked, you've started looking, you found the perfect condo, the perfect single family home, the new house on the golf course, whatever it was you were looking for, you're ready to make an offer. And understanding the contract is super important. Just so you know, I get asked a lot, and this is for the people in the Northeast especially, do we use attorneys down here? Folks, I can never tell you or would never say don't use an attorney. I feel like I'm just setting myself up for a lawsuit if I do. However, I will say that 99.9% of my clients, even the ones from New York, do not choose to bring an attorney into the transaction. If it makes you feel comfortable, though, you should. We don't use attorneys down here. Our average close time is going to be about 30 days, just so you know. We can close as soon as 7 to 14, depending on the property, although that's rare. A longer close for us is going to be 60 to 90 days, and title companies are going to be the one that handle that. I want to tell you about a couple key terms of the offer that you should understand, that your agent needs to be talking to you about. Obviously offer amount, but again, we want to keep that as low as possible. So understanding comps and getting a good idea of the trend of the market is extremely important. Earnest money. Down here, we're going to see anywhere from 5 to 10%, sometimes more, typically in earnest money. I'm from the Midwest. I sold real estate there. They put $500 down because nobody ever collects earnest money. That is not how it is here. Make sure you understand the terms of your contract, because if you breach that contract, people can go after and win your earnest money. So having an agent that can understand the pitfalls of where you may potentially lose your earnest money is extremely important. Another key part of our contract is going to be the inspection term and what our contract looks like. So we pretty much all across the state of Florida use a contract called the as-is contract. And sometimes that is misunderstood, where people think that that means that you're buying something as is. A lot of times sellers are more the ones that say, well, I'm not fixing anything, I'm selling as is. Our as-is contract is as-is with the right to inspect, meaning during the inspection period, you can back out for any reason that you want to. And so setting an inspection period that allows you to do your due diligence is extremely important, all right? Home inspections are key. Understanding the different options between a full home inspection, what a wind mitigation is, a 4-point, or maybe just doing a termite. Some places you need to get well. There's lots of different inspections, and actually even on the coast they're starting to do flood inspections as well, or elevation inspections, if you will. So understanding the inspection is key as far as what you want to get. Our normal inspection time here is going to be anywhere from 7 to 15 days. Let me recommend doing a shorter inspection period because, again, it makes it more attractive to the seller and probably gets you a lower price, and it doesn't put you at risk as long as you handle that and mitigate the inspection in the right way. Another thing that's going to come into play in our contract is going to be the appraisal if you are a finance buyer. If you're a cash buyer, you still can ask, of course, for an appraisal contingency, although most cash buyers don't. That's why cash buyers get a little bit better deals sometimes. So understanding if you want an appraisal contingency or if you have to have an appraisal contingency is key too. So we go through the contract, and now it's time for closing, and we're going to the title company. One tidbit for you as well. Title company can be chosen by the buyer or the seller. It is a negotiated item within the contract, although there are regional differences. In Palm Beach County, the seller typically chooses and pays for the buyer's title policy. In Broward County, the buyer typically chooses and pays. And in Miami-Dade, there's the Miami-Dade provision where they split 50-50. Did you know that? So you can use that as a tool too, depending on what you want to do, whether you want to pay a little bit less for the title insurance policy or whether you want to select the title company and make sure that you get a great deal, or maybe you can do both if you've got a great agent. It's important to know. You're going to go to the closing office, folks. Anymore down here in Florida, you don't even have to be here for closing. Even if items need to be notarized with our title company, you can do digital notarization. Of course, we've always been able to do mobile notaries, but that's old news. Now you could be on a cruise ship with a great internet connection and still close your property. So how cool is that? So listen, you have to understand, I can't make these videos 3 hours, but truthfully, when I go through the contract with my buyers or sellers for the first time, especially someone that doesn't understand it, it easily takes an hour to kind of explain all the terms and what's going on. And it's so important that you understand our contract so that you can utilize it, as I've said many times already, to your benefit to get the best deal possible, right? Because that's what you're here for. You get the best house you can at the best price you can and close when you want to. And that is what it is all about. We're here to help you identify your dream home, whether you're looking for a single family home, a condo, a townhouse, new construction, old construction, rehab, rental, whatever it may be. I want to talk to you. And if you've got questions about what the buying process really looks like on a deeper level than what we covered in this video, my number is below. Please check it out. Beautiful day outside. You can hear the plane going overhead. This is where you want to be. Thanks for checking out the video.